Welcome to Showboys. My name is Mike, joined with my fellow host Nick, and our good friend and Discord daddy, we'll call him.
So you forgot his name.
So I was figuring out the best way to make it super weird.
I love it.
Yes, our good friend Jeff, aka Dad the Cap, in the Discord. Yeah, man. I'm sorry, Discord daddy. That's gonna stick.
The really weird thing about your name, and when you started kind of like see your name came around, is all the way back in like 2008. I was in a WoW guild, and one of like my best online WoW friends, his name was Captain, was his character's name, and people called him Dad. So I was really confused that like somehow he came back into my life all these years later, but I guess not. You're not him.
I could be.
Oh my god.
You never know. Biosib's ready to party, man. He's already he's imploring us to take our pants off.
I'll take my pants off if you take your pants off.
See, that's the thing. He's like the Hulk. He's always pantsless. He's always angry. He always doesn't have pants on. But yeah, how you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Jolly. Oh wait, wrong month. Spooky.
Yeah, wrong. Scared. I'm so scared.
Scared.
We were talking before we came on. Feels like Nick, you and I barely podcast together anymore.
This is true. This is true. Ever since you took that vacation, like it's been different.
You came back as a different person.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I like it. It's weird. But I mean, we just have a lot of new exciting stuff going on here. I guess that's splitting our attention, but
we are running two companion series at the same time here at the Showboys podcast.
We've never done that before.
You guys are so talented. It's awesome.
Let's not get carried away. And I was just also talking with you this morning on Discord. I feel like I haven't streamed since I came back from vacation either. Like I've streamed
haven't
3 or 4 times
barely
in a month.
I think you might be an alternate.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Oh,
that really does explain a lot. Scarily.
Don't talk to him too much.
That's right. You don't want to reveal your fears. But yeah, we got a fun episode tonight. Before we get into it, though, I want to shout out our top tier patrons, Yusuf H, Tim B, and Joe C. Thank you guys so much for your continued support, and all the other patrons. We appreciate your support as well. Make sure you guys are visiting the Patreon page. We have exclusive Patreon only episodes every month that we're doing, and there's other rewards and benefits and all that stuff. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're like, what the heck's Patreon? You can go over to patreon.com/showboyspodcast. Check it out. It's basically a way that you can sign up to donate to us monthly. There's different price points. It helps us keep things running on the back end here at the podcast and continue to try to create the best content that we can for you guys. But each tier has its own, like I said, perks and rewards and benefits. So go check it out. There's 4 different tiers, starting as low as $1 a month. And you can be a Patreon today. Go check it out. Other than that, we're kicking off Spooktober, one of our favorite times of the year here at the podcast. Ironically, I don't think it's any of our favorite genre though of show or movie. I don't think Chad really gets into horror that much. I personally don't, except for what we're going to talk about tonight, really. The YouTube side of horror, I kind of that's my jam. But what about you, Nick? I feel like you don't come off as a big horror guy.
Not in the traditional sense. I like American Psycho, right? So things like that, they have to have larger hallmarks of a cult classic, sort of. Now, obviously, there's cult classics within the horror genre completely. Those don't count. It needs to kind of step outside of that and have
be more mainstream
cult.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I'm not sitting around kind of just like looking for the next horror movie to watch. I enjoy them when I do get to them though.
What about you, Jeff?
I do enjoy the occasional horror. I think I put it on the back burner for a little bit though, to be honest. I think The Ring really screwed me up.
That's the best.
I remember
one.
seeing that in theater.
That like screwed me up for a while. Seeing that girl, yeah, dude.
Yeah. Oh, and she
Terrible.
climbs out through the TV.
Yeah, it's
How old was I back then? I'll look it up when it came out, but I think I was in middle school and I was terrified.
yeah, it was a good one. But like I do enjoy some horror. The analog horror, I mean, we'll probably get into that, but it was
That's so tight.
2002, by the way. So
I graduated in
freshman,
2002.
maybe.
Yeah, I'm an
Graduated
old man.
what?
So.
Biosip, best reward, Showboys prophylactic.
Yes.
Can't take this guy anywhere.
He's here. though.
Yeah. Analog horror is interesting. And we'll get into that for sure. But I think before we go any further, we should kind of explain who you are exactly, Jeff, in the like
He's dead.
ecosystem of Showboys.
I'm a captain.
He's the captain of Showboys. No, if you haven't been a part of our Discord or tuning into the Dungeons and Dragons campaign, you might be wondering who the heck Dad the Cap is. But yeah, he's been helping us out a lot on the back end of stuff with a lot of art things and design things, helping Nick out there. And he's recently got into streaming, and he's been I think he has a spot on the gaming page of our website, showboysmedia.com. Shout out. But he is a part of our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, Erdogan, the MVP, the big crit energy machine.
That's right. Big crit.
Also the only casualty so far to friendly fire done by yours truly.
Dang, dude.
But no, Jeff's a longtime friend. We go way back, and we write a lot of music together and stuff. He puts out some great instrumental stuff. He has a SoundCloud.
Thank you.
If these scars could speak. Right?
This is what everyone's going to know him from. He did the intro to our House of the Dragon campaign series. He did the intro theme song. So that's what everyone knows him from. If you really want to get down to it.
Right. Hey, I'll take it. And that was really fun to make, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It's a slapper.
And you, of course, would know him as Biosiv's OnlyFans account creator.
I didn't expect that to come on the screen.
I didn't expect that to come out to the public.
Yeah,
So.
in confidence, Biosiv.
Like helped in person or just like set it up, like payment and stuff?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Well, we know he has fans. We saw a peek behind the black screen just before we went live. But
he's
yeah,
actually in a club right now.
Yeah. Good friend, a contributor to the Showboys ecosystem, and yeah, we love having him around, and thought that he needs to be on an episode. And this is the episode that we chose, and I think it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem. So like we did last Halloween, we thought it'd be fun to do a little movie review before we get into our topics throughout the month. So we created a channel in our Discord called Spooktober 2022, and we asked for you guys to recommend movies for us to watch and review. Last year, we kind of did a like combination of, we would all watch the same movie, and other weeks we would recommend a movie to each other, and we'd be like watching and reviewing 2 or 3 different movies in an episode. So this year we decided we'll take suggestions, pick ones that seem interesting, all watch it, and then like review the same movie before we get into our topic. So this week we after introducing the Discord channel, asking for your suggestions, we watched a movie that was not mentioned in the Discord channel at all.
How'd that happen?
Well, see, I was putting the list together, and was in one of my weird like
F this
YouTube
list.
rabbit holes, right? And I saw a video that mentioned Bone Tomahawk, which is the movie we're gonna do today, and it played it off as some like really disturbing cannibalistic Western horror, and I was like, that sounds awesome. I love Westerns. I love cannibalism. Who doesn't? Let's go. So yeah, we decided to do this. Actually, if we rewind even further back to last year, Jordan, he actually told us we need to watch this movie, and then like we do most times, Jordan tells us to do anything, we just completely ignored it. And then much later presented the idea as our own, and how like, and then everyone's like, "That's a great idea." And then Jordan's over there like flipping tables,
Right?
But
yeah, that's how it works.
So yeah, so we're gonna review Bone Tomahawk here. Then we're gonna get into analog horror, one of our favorite little subgenres of horror. And
you too.
Probably gotta say, like, out of the 109 episodes we've done so far at Showboys, our analog horror episode, probably my favorite one. It was the most fun to do. I think
it's still way up there.
Yeah, it's
episode 6.
I was listening to that earlier.
Way back.
Way back. Stuff.
Big throwback. But yeah, so Bone Tomahawk. This movie came out back in 2015, and right now you can watch it for free on Tubi. Unfortunately, I found out this is the first thing I've ever watched on Tubi. There were two ad breaks during the movie on Tubi, which is
Did you sign up for Tubi?
No.
You don't have to?
No.
It's just there?
It's just there on the Roku and probably all smart devices. But
okay.
Yeah, 2 ad breaks, not terrible.
Not at all.
But having ad breaks during a movie kind of sucks. But yeah, it's a Western horror starring Kurt Russell. Actually, the cast is pretty great.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell, you got Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Wilson.
A big horror movie mainstay. You have Matthew Fox, who was in Lost.
Mm-hmm.
You have Richard Jenkins, who plays Chicory. That dude just killed it.
He was awesome.
Dude, it's great. David Arquette is in this movie. Any fans of Scream out there remember him as Deputy Huey, I think. You got Fred Malamed, and then another horror movie icon here, Sid Haig, who's in like pretty much every Rob Zombie movie. Unfortunately, I was looking on his IMDb yesterday. He died in 2019, which I did not know.
Oh, no way.
At the age of 80. He was born in 1939, which is also crazy. I did not realize all that. Yeah, great cast. Cool, interesting idea for a movie. But before we get into the details, we'll just go around. Jeff, what did you like your first, like, just general impressions, thoughts of the movie?
I did love it. I thought it was great. It took its time to build up to that main part where they get to the cave. I kind of wish they would have done a little bit more with these cannibals, because they spent a lot of time traveling. A lot of time traveling, and poor Patrick Wilson's character, I felt so bad for him, like hobbling along. Yeah. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It had a good amount of gore. These cannibals were ruthless. I enjoyed Matthew Fox's character too.
Oh yeah,
the good old sharpshooter.
Brooder.
Yep. And the way he went out, I was kind of sad, but I mean, it is what it is. But I did enjoy it for sure, and I called it to myself. I wasn't watching it with anybody. I knew that the frickin' Gimp would save the day.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure.
That's why he's there from the get-go.
Exactly. Well, they make it seem like, well, yeah, he's gonna die. He's got no chance.
It would have been great. So I'm all about like subverting expectations in movies like this. It would have been great if Patrick Wilson did die when they left him. and then the movie ends with them just all being eaten by
Oh.
these cannibals. They don't actually escape. But
It's a fine
my wife
ending.
has told me I'm a very disturbed individual. So
Yeah, I think we all are a little bit.
If
because
you're
I
not,
mean,
what's the fun in that?
realistically, that's what would have happened. Come on.
There is one part in this movie I don't. If it doesn't get mentioned, I'll bring it up. I don't want to take away from anybody else's,
All right. Yeah.
takeaways.
Thunder.
Nick,
So yeah, I'm good.
what were your thoughts?
Well, I was going to add there to the whole idea, like, they have to get out. So it's the movie, right? So this is like the movie of the people that magically make it, because you got to think of all the other stories where they all die, because these are cannibals that live up in the hills.
Right.
No one else made it out of there. It's kind of their thing. So so it took a long time for this to process, but I seen this movie many years ago. So it came out in 2015. So which is weird, because I was like, I've seen this, but definitely had to have been many, many years ago. No, like I've seen this in the past 7 years, which is odd to me. And I definitely watched it because I was probably going through a Tombstone, like Kurt Russell kick.
Yes.
So like, something more up to date and just newer film by him. So I definitely watched it. But yeah, it's a good movie for sure. And it's a Western.
Yeah.
Right. And it's cool that that's a Western horror genre, and they really take steps to emphasize the horror bit, even though, like Dad said, it's all the way at the end. So like they could have really extended that to make it even more horror, but really it's kind of like a Western, and you have all your typical like Western setup, and you got to have the town moments and the saloon moments and the fighting couple in the bedroom moments. So like it's loaded full of like your Western tropes. But no, definitely I enjoyed the movie, and I didn't expect it to have a 91% on the tomato meter.
Yeah.
And by the critics, and a 74% on the audience score. And if you dig in a little deeper, it has a bunch of awards, but like from a ton of, I think, niche like award
A lot of
givers.
independent.
Yeah, I think I feel like it might have circulated like a different circuit, because I think it did very, very bad at the box office.
It did. I just looking at that budget was 1.8 million. They only got 481,000.
Oh, geez.
You hate to see it.
Yeah, I hate to see it, but hey, we're just out here making good movies. We're not making profitable movies.
Right.
It's 2015. I guess
It has all the signs of a cult classic.
We don't care about the money. We just want to make a good movie.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't know. Is it a cult classic? Like, who's the cult following it has? I don't really know. Jordan.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either. It has all the makings of one.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's hit that point yet, but when I talked to Jeff, sorry, my hoodie's like bunching up in the back. I hate that. When I was talking to Jeff this morning about it, it's not really what I was expecting, because I think either the video title or the short little snippet I heard of this movie, I was expecting a lot more like gore, I guess, a lot more of the cannibalistic part, a lot more of the horror element.
More like The Hills Have Eyes type thing.
Yeah. And so I was kind of at first taken aback by the pacing and how this movie kind of feels like a character study more than like a plot driven movie, Like you spend a lot of time with the characters and listening to their dialogue, and each character kind of has its own like defined caricature of like a masculine personality trait, right? So you're kind of like dissecting that as you go along, follow this group.
It's for sure a Western first.
Excuse me.
Right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's what Westerns do all day is they just kind of spend the first 2/3 of the movie introspecting on all the characters that we've kind of all seen before.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it, and I think today and like getting ready to come on here, I've started to appreciate it a lot more, and like my love, I don't know if it's quite love yet, but my enjoyment of the movie seems to be rising as we talk, and as I was getting ready to come on here. But yeah, so let's I guess get into the specifics. So we're in a small town here out west, like very small, like probably like 20 people live in this town, it looks like. Kurt Russell plays the sheriff, of course. That a role Kurt Russell was born to play.
Oh
Just
man,
a sheriff in a western.
it was great. It was
Every
great.
movie.
Yeah. I mean, come on. But yeah.
Or Planet God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's the town sheriff, very small, quiet town. The movie starts following these drifters that like just murdered a traveling party to rob them or whatever. They stumble across this like tribe, it seems, of Native Americans in like a burial ground type place. One of the drifters gets killed, the other one escapes, finds his way into this town. You know, the backup deputy, one of my favorite characters of this movie, I think, Chicory.
Yep.
He sees the drifter burying some stuff, reports it to the sheriff, and then the plot ensues. Basically, a couple people along with the drifter in the town are kidnapped by this tribe and taken off to where they go. The tribe has a professor who is an Indian fellow that they seek out to see if he knows what tribe this might be, where they might be, so they can go rescue the people that were kidnapped. And then, like Jeff and Nick alluded to, it's basically the next hour and 20 minutes of the movie is their journey to find the tribe. So for those of you who know, it's basically like the new world of movies here, just a giant walking simulator. But one of my favorite things about the movie is the dialogue.
That's not true anymore. Apparently. Easy.
Easy.
But I loved the dialogue. Like, one, how they like spoke, the way their sentences were formed and stuff, like very, what I assume is of the times, but like the words they use, it was just like, I loved listening to the dialogue throughout the entire movie. It was great. I loved it so much. Chicory was, like I said, my favorite character. He plays like the bumbling, like lovable backup deputy, which I think that title alone is just hysterical. Like, there's the sheriff, and then he has a deputy who is one of the people that gets kidnapped, and then they have this old guy who I think they refer to as Old Man many times in the movie as the backup deputy.
Yep.
Just so great.
Dude liked to talk too. Like, he would ramble on.
Yeah. It's great.
He's got to do something,
right?
Because he ain't deputing.
Right.
Yeah. Patrick Wilson plays a husband of the town doctor, who is one of the people that gets kidnapped. And when we're introduced to him, his like legs in a splint. Apparently he like tried to fix the roof in a storm and fell off and had like a pretty nasty break. So like his leg has a scar and he's still healing. And then we have Matthew Fox's character, who is Brooder, who's just kind of like the town. I don't even know what to call, but he's like straight-laced.
Oh yeah.
He's apparently killed a lot of Indians in his lifetime. the party, the rescue party here is Kurt Russell, Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, and Richard Jenkins. So we got Sheriff Hunt, Arthur, Bruder, and Chicory going out to save these kidnapped people. And basically what happens throughout the movie is Patrick Wilson's character is struggling to keep up because of his leg. There's a lot of like introspection here of like him as a person and like his worth as like a man and a husband, because he feels like he can't necessarily rescue his wife because he's like gimped and can barely walk.
But he's determined to do so.
So determined. We have not much really happening outside of dialogue. There's two encounters along their journey of like drifters and things that just complicate the journey. But once they finally make it to the cave where this tribe is, Patrick Wilson's character is not with him because he like fell and like re-broke his leg. So they just kind of like gave him a bunch of like opioids, and we're just like, well,
let him sleep.
If he makes it, he makes it. He's probably gonna die because he's just stranded one-legged out in the middle of the desert. They make it to the cave. They have a pretty brutal encounter with the tribe. Bruder ends up getting brutally killed. Chicory and Sheriff Hunt are captured and brought into the cave where they find Patrick Wilson's wife and the other deputy locked up in a cage. We get a brutal death scene of the deputy Nick.
That's what I was gonna say.
Shucks.
Like he gets scalped. He gets like held upside down, and they just like split him down the middle. That was pretty brutal.
Gotta get the icky parts out real quick.
That was rough.
Then push come to shove, there's some stuff in the cave. Kurt Russell's character gets pretty beat up, but Patrick Wilson comes in crawling, hands and knees, saves the day. They leave, they make it out. I will say two things that I thought added to the horror element. One would be pretty obvious, the second one maybe not so much, but obviously the tribe, their appearance, their demeanor, but like their body modifications to their voice box to make that crazy howling scream thing whenever they open their mouths, it was insane.
Well, that's what Patrick Wilson's character did. He cut out the voice box and signaled for them to come, and he killed them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty ingenious from a guy hopped up on opiates.
Seriously.
That's like he could deal.
He held his own though,
dude. He really did. The part where the two tribesmen happen upon Patrick Wilson while he's sleeping, and they try to shoot him with a bow from like 2 feet away and magically miss, really annoyed me. That was probably the one part of the movie where I was like, this part really sucks, and I wish they would have spent like 5 more minutes thinking through how them sneaking up on Patrick Wilson would get his attention rather than firing an arrow from 2 feet away and it magically missing. Yeah.
And then he knows.
Because they're like sniping the party with arrows.
Everybody.
Like, and then all of a sudden they had like stormtrooper syndrome there where they
they'd get close out of line of sight, you know? So it must have been right over the hill.
What would you guys think of like the combat between the group and the tribe and just the tribe horror aspect itself?
Clunky, because you know people have to die, you know, and obviously you have kind of stumbles like the arrow miss, like you said, but you know, it falls in line with the Western. You know, they always gotta take cover, and there, you know, 2 sides to it, and people start dropping, you know.
It's true.
But expert analysis from Nick, as always.
Always. It is a fight. Yeah,
people died.
People died. That's what I'm here for.
People died. We moved on.
Shout out classic movie review from last year.
Yep. Gotta have it.
What about you, Jeff?
Like I mentioned before, like I wanted to see more interaction between this group. Well, both groups. I thought it was okay. Like it was a little clunky. I mean, I didn't want to see Matthew Fox die. He was probably, other than Kurt Russell, my favorite character in this movie. He was just so like, bang, you're dead. No questions asked, right?
Yeah.
Like he's just, dude. I remember the scene where they're all sleeping at night, and like they hear something, they hear the bell, the warning bells, and he's up and bang, they're dead. Or it's like a
dog,
coyote or
wolf
dog
yeah,
or something,
yeah.
yeah. And like everyone else is all like, "Oh, what's going on?" They're like getting their guns ready, and he's already like up and shooting and laying back down.
Yeah, here's
they could have added more of like maybe encounters along the way with the cannibals, but
or like evidence of the cannibals, like to
yeah.
show what the group's about to get into.
Well, I mean, they did kind of do that with the dude that was in the barn with the horses.
Oh yeah.
How he got gutted.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude. So I have this thing of like texting our group with just movie quotes with zero context, and they're usually like really terrible sounding. But first, I also says, here's like a summary of Nick's review, which also was about this concise. People went down, no biggie.
No biggie, you know. Here's your typical fight.
Yeah.
Listen, we had to get an hour and a half of Western stuff in. Now we can get to like the horror stuff. So there wasn't enough room to make it as elaborate as we all wanted it. So
no, they when the kidnapping happens, they also go in, steal a bunch of horses from this barn, and kill the stable boy. And the stable boy was a black man, and he wasn't eaten or anything. His just body was completely mutilated. And they ask the professor guy, like, because they have the arrow and he recognizes the arrow. He's like, I forget what the tribe's name was, but he's like, yeah, it's this tribe. They're cannibals. They're crazy. Like, even like my people like don't want anything to do with this tribe because they're nuts. And they're like, well, why didn't they eat whatever his name was? And he's like, oh yeah, they don't eat Negroes. And Chicory's like, which was my text. Is it because they think they're poisonous or something like that? And I was like, oh god, Chicory, you idiot! But that's why I love him, because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
What was the quote from last year? It was
I don't even think we can say it on air. It was so out of context and so bad.
It was really bad. But it was the best quote ever. From that movie, at least. There was I'll just get this out of the way. My favorite quote of this movie: say goodbye to my wife and I'll say hello to yours. When
that was awesome.
Hit that one.
That was great. That was great.
Such an epic like Kurt Russell quote as he's dying, talking to Chicory, whose wife has passed prior to all of this stuff. Beautiful line. But yeah, I do appreciate the clunkiness of the encounter, just because I imagine that's just kind of like how combat was in those times with those weapons, you know, like it's going to be like up close and pretty brutal. There's going to be some like not so great accuracy using bow and arrow, and you know, I mean, yeah, the townspeople were using guns, but
well, I guess the thing is
very
like
brutal.
Yeah, but I guess the thing is, like, they're rolling deep into like their territory.
Mm-hmm. It took them days to get there, so
yeah. So like, along with the idea of like, why wasn't there more stuff along the way? like, why weren't they just like actively picking them off or, messing with them along the way? Like it took a while. So
Yeah.
it's like, do they just happen to wait till they like get basically there and then like, okay, now we're going to fight them?
Well, I wonder, like, maybe they just didn't even suspect anyone would be coming or know where
Yeah.
to find them.
Right.
But as they get closer, you start to hear the calls,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh, what's that?"
What's that?
Y'all about
But yeah,
to die.
of course, like the tribe is the central horror aspect, at least the more obvious one. But I think the secondary one, and I think something that the movie does really well, whether you are aware of it or not, is the horror of like being alone or like being isolated. It's similar to movies that are out on the water, at least for me. Like they're out in the middle of the desert, like days
Horseback.
away from their town,
Mhm.
on horseback with limited supplies. And at this time, like, it's not like this was a settled area. They could just pop into another town and resupply or get like medical attention or anything like that. Like if they make a mistake, like Patrick Wilson's character does, who's already like crippled with his leg, or they get robbed like they did, where they lose their horses. Shout out, very sad scene with Saucy. Also great horse name. They get their supplies stolen, or at least their horses stolen. You're just kind of like in the middle of the desert, like 50-50 chance you're going to even make it to or back from your expedition here, let alone survive your encounter with a gnarly cannibalistic tribe. So there's always like just that tension floating in the background of that threat that is just always going to be there. But yeah, I would give this a solid 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10 for me. I would probably rewatch it again. I do wish, as much as I loved the character stuff and the dialogue, I do wish there was just a little more leading up to the cave, something involving the tribe, just to show the like brutality that they're about to walk into. Mm-hmm. Like they come across a few skulls like on cliff sides, but like, what if there was a drifter that was their body was like freshly, mutilated or something, or they come across like, just, I don't know, a little more into that horror aspect on the journey. But aside from that, I like it. I would recommend it. I'd watch it again. What are your guys' final thoughts on the movie, or anything that we didn't really talk about yet?
I think twice is good for me. I don't know, unless we have like another reason to like rewatch it and like review it. But that definitely, knowing I've seen it once already and then now watching it twice, I think I'm capped. But definitely a good movie, and I'd recommend it, especially for you niche people out there that like a good Western and, like a little horror spice tossed into it at the end. I wonder, is there an argument where you could start the movie at like a certain point and get the horror element completely all capped in there in one nice like 30-minute under an hour pocket? Like, yeah, you can skip the first hour.
I don't know. Maybe. Probably not.
Probably not.
I'd probably give it a 7. I think this is the first truly Western horror that I've seen. Not that I have a long list of Western horror movies I can pull from. I enjoyed the journey. I loved Patrick Wilson's character. He had to save his wife. Nothing was going to stop this dude, and nothing did. I mean, he was so close to death. They were about to chop his leg off.
Not even the writers could stop him.
He said no. He was like, "No, you're not cutting off my leg.
Yeah.
Just leave me here. I'll sleep it off." What a guy will do for his wife, it's pretty amazing. I was pretty happy with it. Yeah, I don't think I might watch it one more time, but I don't think I'd watch it like over and over again.
I think it could probably be a cool like double feature. You watch Tombstone first, and this is like Wyatt Earp in his golden years. He's left Tombstone. He's just looking for a nice quaint town to settle down after all the rowdiness of Tombstone, and then he's stuck here with Chicory. Then he's got to go after this tribe,
and then
he
he dies.
Gets an old flask in the hip. You
hate to see that. Oh, I hate it when that happens.
When they like shove that massive bone thing in his mouth and knock him out, that was brutal.
That was rough.
There should have been some permanent damage. I feel like I don't know
how he was talking after that.
Yeah,
I just love their like bone axes that they just had these massive, bone tomahawks.
There you go.
But so brutal. Final word here. I do appreciate that the horror was not like supernatural, otherworldly, sci-fi, anything like that. It was very, as much as it could be, grounded, and like even the crazy, like scary cry, scream, whatever battle cry that the tribe had was explained as like a body modification. So like it wasn't like these were some like crazy, like demonic like
cannibals?
Spirit Indians that have these crazy like cries or whatever. They're just like people who put these weird voice boxes in their throats and had this
and chop people in half.
Yeah, insatiable hunger for human flesh. I mean,
totally should have been
totally grounded
in a cave that they crawl out of from like another dimension.
Yeah. Totally grounded. But yeah, that's it. Movie review for Bone Tomahawk.
Watch it.
While we're on the topic of cannibals, I did
Dad
see
has
a
skull
trailer
on his desk.
Yes. You want to explain that, sir?
Looks real. It's got gold too.
I posted an article for a new dark comedy. What is it called? Feed Me is what it's called.
Oh boy.
Cannibal family, and they feed their children people.
No, it's a dark comedy about a man who gets another person to give him consent to eat him.
Okay.
And it's described as Ted Lasso meets cannibalism. And the trailer definitely gives that vibe off. But I wanted to bring this up first because I think the movie looks funny and interesting. But it's based off of a very crazy and true case in the true crime world where a dude like hold on a second. Real life case. I'm trying to look up the name of the case. But yeah, a guy basically met somebody else on a forum where the one guy was like, yeah, I want somebody to eat me. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. And then, of course, the guy who said he wanted to be eaten was killed. And hence true crime case. But yeah, oh man, I need to.
Wow.
It's going to drive me nuts that I can't quickly find the case that this is based off of, but it's based off of if you're in the true crime niche on YouTube, you've probably heard of the case that this is based off of.
You're sick, sir.
Yes, I know. I've been told that many times. Check it out. Feed Me trailer. It's great. It's in our Discord newscast.
That's a movie.
So topic at hand, analog horror part 2. Nick, why are we talking about analog horror again?
Well, we're definitely talking about analog horror again because it's one of our favorite episodes of the podcast. Shout out episode 6. Go check it out. And that was early on in our days. And it was also a really fun episode. It was in our first Spooktober. This is our third annual Spooktober. But analog horror is a weird combination of things. It is one, a YouTube sort of specific genre that Mike loves, YouTube content and content creators. And it's also horror, and it fits in here, but it's such a unique take on horror too, right? Where the cool thing is that like people just like make it on no budget in their like bedroom. And it's really just all it takes is like creativity, and you can make some really crazy simple stuff very effective. And it's honestly more scary than there's more the scariness is there's more payoff in like the amount of time spent like per minute in analog horror than there is in like watching movie upon movie to be like scared to get that thrill. You can just go watch some analog horror and you'll get a lot more bang for your buck there when it comes to if you're trying to quickly get a scare. Not too invested, but like it's super interesting. And whether it's they build this ethos around it. So part 2, because it's constantly getting new content. And
yes,
evolving.
And it's growing.
Evolving and growing.
Big time.
Mike caught it early, I feel like.
Yeah, I think our first episode was right at the height of Local 58, which is like the godfather of analog horror. By far well, I don't know about these days, but back then it was definitely by far the most popular analog horror entry. And it's still the like iconic, like if you're talking to anyone about analog horror, Local 58 is going to come up. But like you were saying, bang for your buck. I think it's so effective because there are a few real life instances of analog horror, which we talked about in our first episode, which kind of lends to the spooky meter. Like you could kind of see something like this happen because it's presented in an analog format, usually with like a news broadcast or something being hijacked and altered in a way. But
it doesn't have that preface that a lot of other type of horror has, where it's like there's a setting that's established, whereas this is like it could easily just be inserted into the not so distant future of our current reality because they don't really give all the context. So you're like,
yeah,
there's nothing telling me that this happens in the year 2050 and aliens invaded.
Yeah.
Use your imagination. It could be happening right now.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the draw too to the genre is it's kind of a mix of like an ARG with a new type of horror. So if you're not familiar with ARGs, alternate reality games, we also did an episode on that. You can go back and listen to that. But those are basically interactive media where the creator pretty much puts forth his content in a solvable puzzle for the viewers to unravel. And in order to progress the story, the viewers have to like solve the riddle, solve the puzzle, find all the clues to lead them to the next piece of content to unravel the story. Not all analog horror has like super heavy ARG elements, but I think all analog horror has some light ARG elements in the fact that like Nick said, to completely understand the story that's being told and the setting and the characters, like usually you're going to have to do some digging. A lot of times you'll find stuff in episode descriptions that lead you to another YouTube channel that has a bunch of unlisted videos or something like that. And I think that's kind of alluring to people to be able to interact in a way or really just investigate and like discover these things because it's a small genre. So you might actually discover the thing and present it to people, which is really cool. But I would say that also is a downfall, a con of analog horror, while it is a lot of bang for your buck, you have to be glued to the screen while you're watching it, because you might miss something if you like blink your eye, because things
Oh yeah.
happen very fast. It's like well, it's the fastest piece of content that really goes nowhere, because 95% of the video you watch might just be like a pretty standard boring presentation, but the screen glitches for a half second when you're looking away, and that was the thing that you were there for that entire time. That's the entire element of the story. I don't know, Jeff, what are your thoughts? Like, is this something new for you? Like, when did you get into analog horror? How do you like it? Why do you like it?
Okay, so I'm very new to this genre.
This week new.
No, not that new. I think it's around the time that the Backrooms happened, because my kids were watching it on YouTube. I'm like, what the heck is this? And
like any concerned parent would.
yeah, I'm like, what are you watching? Gonna
Yo, weirdos.
But it caught my attention and I was intrigued. I'm like going about my day, imagining I'm gonna glitch through the floor and end up in the back rooms. And I think it, I have grown to really like this genre because it creates this real world sense. Like it's nothing too far out there. I mean, there's some weird stuff obviously, but it kind of reminds me of like the found footage stuff.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like documentary, like this is what's happening right now, filming it on analog VCR, VHS tape. But yeah, it's really crazy. But I was kind of like, this stuff is kind of dumb. Like at first I was like, it's just like very plain, like very simple. But like what Mike said, like there's those moments where it's super quick, like the camera glitches, or like there's something hidden. I actually really love that kind of stuff, and I love the mystery behind it.
Yeah.
I was watching was it Eventide? The one.
Oh yeah. Eventide Media Center. It's a great one.
So they like it starts off perfectly normal. They do like the weather forecast, and like they have this huge red mass spreading across the area. And I hope I'm not getting them mixed up because I've watched so many. But is that the one that the dude is buried under the ground underneath the town?
Maybe. Eventide.
No, not Eventide. That was
Gemini.
Yeah. Eventide was crazy too because it started with the shapes.
Yes,
the impossible shape. Yeah,
and then it did have the media center forecast video, which is what you're talking about.
Was that the one with the eye on the side of the building?
I think. Now, so these all started about 2 years ago and are still pumping out videos. Eventide 11 months ago was their last video, so who knows? Gemini, they're somewhat recent. They have 7 months ago. But that's the other thing. The other downfall is like uploads aren't super frequent on a consistent schedule, which kind of is a big buzzkill.
It is, especially being that culture that needs to binge and have a whole bunch of stuff to watch. It's kind of like, I want the next thing right now.
But that's the angle it gets you at. It sits on your brain even more because they deprived you of that satisfaction, that dopamine. They withdrew it quickly.
Yeah, Jordan says I hope you weren't here for the beginning, Jordan, because if you were, I'm sorry. But no, Jordan says the analog horror cycle. This is kind of dumb. Wait, what was that? I can't sleep, but I'm not terrified. Did that actually scare me? This is kind of awesome.
And that it is awesome. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
It's brilliant. Like the way that they get in your head, like it looks stupid. It looks like it's back in the freaking 80s, 90s. Like no one would willingly watch that stuff. Like normal broadcasting.
Yeah.
But like you add what these creators have added to it, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. Like it just feeds that.
The ones that are the most effective are so good. Dare I say, maybe have perfected the art of balancing you on the fulcrum of tension.
Yes.
To where, like what Jordan said, like none of this is scary, but I am so tense while watching it
because you're waiting for something to happen.
Yes,
the whole time.
I just feel paranoid. Like even today, while I was watching, catching up on stuff, because like I said, a lot of these series span years. And it's been 2 years since we last talked about these series on the podcast. So yesterday and today I went back and caught up on my main series that I liked. And, I had my headphones on because my wife and the kid were down here cleaning up the basement, and I had the sound jacked up. And they left, and then they turned the light off. And I kind of work in this lighting anyways. I have a lamp here that I turn on, so it's a little bit brighter. But if I turn that light on, hey, well, that was what timing did you guys see that?
That was
we saw that.
Oh my gosh. Did you hear me say when I turned the light on, and then you turned the light on?
I heard something about lamps, and I was like, oh, good timing.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Love you. The weekly baby monitor handoff brought to you by Becca.
Love it.
No, they go upstairs, shut the light off, and I have my dimly lit office down here, and I'm looking over my shoulder because I just feel that tension.
Feel like you're being watched.
Yes, but they have that balance of where 80% of the time there really isn't a payoff. But when the payoff actually comes, it's super effective, and then it keeps you on the edge of your seat through the next 2 videos where there barely is no payoff. But I don't know if I'm explaining that well, but that's probably one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, they're leading you along to get you, just enough to tag you along, to lure you into their trap, and then they get you.
Yeah. Also, I think I said this on the first episode, but this is Stranger Things is how I discovered my love for synthwave.
Yes.
Analog horror is how I discovered my love for vaporwave. Eventide, great. It's a great soundtrack. Gemini has a great soundtrack. Local 58, it's good. But basically, think of vaporwave as you're walking through Sears or Kmart back in 1994. That lobby elevator music playing in Kmart, and then Nick said, you just stick it in the microwave so it gets all distorted and slowed down and chunked up, and it just, I think that is really what creates the tension more so than the actual content. The use of the music and the sludging down of this elevator music just makes you it just unsettles you from the moment the pitch shifts down or the distortion in the music starts to happen. You're I don't like this. I don't even care what's on the screen. I already don't like this. But yeah, so why don't we, Nick, what are you most familiar / caught up on analog horror series wise?
Yeah, oddly enough, I don't know how I got into it, but it was because when we had Alex on the podcast, like all the backroom stuff.
Shout out.
Shout out.
Well, humble flex there.
Yeah. I did some catch up then, so that was like earlier this year. And I mean that stuff's really good for sure. Like definitely like top notch. And I wanted to add like one of my favorite things is really about like the community around it. So obviously there's people that just kind of like watch it, forget about it, catch up like a couple years later. But then there's like people that I feel like really, really go off the deep end on it, and they're the best because you have the creators who, I mean, kudos to them. Somehow they're able to create in like a vacuum and like stay in their head with it, and like they have their story in their head as it's unfolding, even though it's not like set in stone. They have an idea of where it all goes. Meanwhile, on the internet, people are going like rampant, like trying to figure out like what's going to happen. Some people guess it right, most people guess it wrong. But the fact that such, like when you guys say like 80% of it is no payoff, and it's just like a bunch of clues and hints, can set up so many different ideas for like what people think is happening. Is just like so cool to me. Because even, and they just kind of like pine for any kind of like clues, whether it's like a random tweet, they just explode it, and like they think that's like the golden nugget that just explains everything.
Yeah.
And then you have other YouTube creators being able to do like full analysis and breakdowns on it. So it's just cool how it creates this like
a
reoccurring
subgenre
churn.
of the subgenre. Yeah, and if you're looking for some real great analysis of like the Mandela Catalog or the Backrooms or Local 58, no brainer, go watch Wendigoon's videos. That dude is like a genius when it comes down to doing these like video essays on these series and stuff. Nexpo has some great series. I don't know if they're on his YouTube channel anymore, if he like put them behind the Patreon wall, but Nexpo is kind of how I stumbled into this, and then Wendigoon, of course. We got some comments. So Jordan says, "What happened at the beginning?" Well, I kind of took credit for your idea of watching Bone Tomahawk from last year. He says, "I'll remind this VCR if I have to."
Rewind.
I think. But it's okay.
Joe says, "Coming soon, the Showboys Horror Theater." Maybe. I don't know. You never know. Like Mistake, I'm assuming.
I think it's Mystique.
Mystique.
Yeah.
Missed 3K.
Yeah.
You'll have to elaborate on that, sir.
But to answer your question, it is the Mandela Catalog in the Backrooms I'm probably most current with. Like if there's been more Local 58 and the other stuff, that's
sadly
probably
there hasn't been. Local 58 is probably still my favorite series of them, but there hasn't been any videos for like 2 years.
Interesting.
But I did want to touch on this before we dive into any of this series specifically. There's been a cool evolution of analog horror. Whereas, you start out with, I mean, of course there's ones before Local 58, but that's like what I consider the starting point in my mind, because that's when it kind of really blew up. Probably going to get lit up in the comments. By the way, please light up our comments if you'd like. But Local 58, Gemini, Eventide, they're all like, especially Local 58 and Eventide, they're like the public access broadcasts that's like plays on your local news channels after midnight or whatever. And those channels getting hijacked with like creepy, ominous messaging, interruption of programs and things like that. Gemini takes a little bit of a step to the right, and their stuff is like VHS, like tinkering with VHS tapes. The evolution from that to the Backrooms and the Mandela Catalog, here you're starting to intertwine voice acting, found footage stuff. Even with the backrooms, there's one video near the tail end of the series, or at least what's uploaded right now, where there are some like actual legitimately amazing quality like camera shots of actors like walking through a building, and like something so far detached from anything in that series or in the genre as a whole, that you can really like come to appreciate, and I think are kind of bending the rules in a good way and pushing the genre forward. So to call, I don't know if the Backrooms is really considered analog horror. The Mandela catalog is, because like in his credits after the videos, he thanks the analog horror community for the support and stuff like that. The Backrooms, I'm not sure. Maybe. I think a lot of it some of it is.
I mean, no, you're right. That's where it starts to blend to elements, right? Of kind of like found footage type stuff, or like actual acting and stage stuff. But it has like the kind of like explanation videos where it's some abstract like snippet that's giving you context to the world around it. And that's, I mean, I think that's still super analog horror, even though the main sequence, right, that gives you the jump and all that isn't exactly.
You're
But
talking about the Backrooms?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one definitely blurs the line the most.
Yeah.
And it's in the best way.
But right, because what it's doing is it's almost as if it kind of reminds me of like if the Mandela catalog were to like you were actually to record it, right? So like between like alternates and things like that, like that's what it reminds me of. If we were actually to see that stuff kind of happen, not just get the analog perspective of it. So it's kind of like analog horror coming to life. It's kind of why it really blurs the lines, because it's super familiar to the genre, but like you make a good point, like not all the elements are true analog.
Yeah, they start to add in other genres, which is great. More comments. Jordan says Bone Tomahawk is a great sequel set in the modern day. Don't bring the kids. Why did I put that on the screen? I just click and read. I don't pre-read these, guys.
I pre-read these.
And you just read it like as
yeah. Nick doesn't warn me. I'm basically Will Ferrell and Anchorman. Just whatever's on the teleprompter. Biosif says Mystery Science Theater 3000. Oh, that would be actually fun to do. Joe says, if we want to try to make a suspense horror movie, I'm in. Civ, write the script. And Civ says, I'm ready. We can do it. By the way, go vote for him.
do it
for his Face of Horror campaign. Help this man realize his dreams. You can make his dreams come true. Go vote today.
We need to make voted stickers for him.
That's true. Vote or die. South Park. Yeah, let's start with the Mandela or the Backrooms. It's kind of what we've been talking about anyways, but yeah, like we said, it mixes some elements of analog horror, some elements of found footage, and some elements of actual film stuff. All together, combines it with the horror of like liminal space. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but that's basically like the use of empty, abandoned spaces, just being creepy and scary in and of itself. All kind of playing off of that isolation and loneliness feeling we were talking about in Bone Tomahawk.
The comment stuck with you.
Yeah. But yeah, Wendigoon, of course, has a great breakdown of the series. You should go watch it. This is made by Kane Pixel, and he's like 17 or 18 or between 16 and maybe 19.
I think he's 19.
He's ridiculously young.
Yes, he is.
And this series is amazing.
Brilliant.
I learned that this started from a 4chan post, like an idea that originated in 4chan, and he kind of like took the general idea and put his own take on it and created this story that we see here in the series. Interesting tidbit. Number one, Kane does most or all of the music that you hear in the series, of course, outside of the actual like copyright song. I think there's at least one actual song in there. All the other music in the series is done by Kane himself. Big props. Love the music that's in the series. Secondly, most mind-blowingly, and thing that I did not see coming at all, it also answered my biggest question that I would have asked if I were to ever interview Kane Pixels. The back rooms itself is all done in 3D animation.
Yes, I was gonna say that because it
Which
looks like
it looks so real.
It looks so real,
dude. Oh my gosh, I was like, where does he film this at? He doesn't, because it's 3D animation, which kind of makes sense because I always thought like, in some of the scenes with the people in the hazmat suits, like their legs when they walk are like weird, and I'm like, this feels very uncanny to me, and that kind of makes sense because it's all done in 3D animation. So
he's the one that has the Attack on Titan content as well, right?
Mhm.
That's like kind of what he started doing. Yeah, that stuff's so good.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, this dude is just a massive ball of talent, and it's crazy.
It's awesome.
Massive ball of talent. I'm glad you finished that sentence.
This also has a slew, or maybe not a slew, but a Roblox game called The Backrooms,
which I played.
Series. I've watched Ugly Kid Joe Cross, shout out, stream this with Beluga Boy. Jordan and Jeff play this, or just you? You play with Jordan?
Yeah, we played that, and my kids played it too.
Nice. Do you want to kind of explain the like synopsis of the series, Jeff, as you maybe understand it?
So from the beginning, we'll just start there. There's a director. They're filming some kind of movie or something, and they get the shot done, and then he tells the cameraman to get back, get a wider shot or whatever, and then he no clips out of reality and lands in this really musty, nasty yellow bunch of rooms and
empty office building,
empty, weird fluorescent lighting, and he's like, hello, like he's like, what's going on? How did I get here? He's like looking up at the ceiling, looking behind him, just randomly gets to this place, and he wanders around for a little bit, and like there's no one there, no one at all, and they're shouting out, and I'm trying to remember what happened, if he sees the arrow.
He sees
the arrow, but then he sees the image drawn that says don't move, stay still, and then that creature shows up. So basically, when you come to the back rooms, you come here, and then you venture around this maze, and there's different levels of this back rooms. I have not watched all of them, but I know that it's terrifying because you're expecting something to jump out and get you, or to get the main character, and there's this just overwhelming sense of dread, like this person's gonna die. There's no way out of this. Like he's wandering around forever. He gets chased by this weird creature,
which I love, by the way, because it's so like rudimentary.
Yeah.
It basically just looks like a bunch of scribbles.
Right.
And makes the most horrific sound I've probably ever heard in my life.
Yes. And then the part where he falls out of the back rooms, out
Yeah.
of the sky, and
Yeah.
lands onto the grass. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
But it's wild because it's like I said earlier, it's just like, wow, what if this actually happened? Can people actually no clip into the back rooms?
Yeah.
Is
So
this actually a
basically,
place?
the series is based off of the idea of no clipping, which is like a video game thing where sometimes you just like glitch and fall through the map.
Yep.
So like exactly like you said, imagine you just step in the wrong place and you glitch through reality, time, space, whatever, and you just land in the back rooms.
Yes.
And then you're just kind of stuck there until you can figure out how to get out, which is a really interesting and weird and terrifying concept. How far have you guys been? Like, I'll ask Nick because I want to say that Jeff, you've probably gotten farther in the series than Nick, but I could be wrong.
Of the back rooms?
Yeah.
When's the latest stuff? What's the latest release? I'm probably current if it's everything like up through like 3 months ago.
I'm definitely not current.
The last video is from May.
I might be all the way caught up on this.
Actually,
is that the one with Act 1 and Act 2?
Never mind. The last video was in August.
No.
I had to scroll down just a little bit further. Now what did you ask though? 2 acts, you said? No, that's
Yeah. Are there 2
catalog.
acts? Okay. Then no, I'm not caught up on Backrooms.
Okay, what about you, Jeff? How far have you made it?
The second video.
Okay. I just wanted to know like how much of the story I could reveal because I think the story is so interesting. But I won't because I don't want to ruin what you guys can experience.
I mean, I did play the Roblox game, so I don't know how far that goes into it.
Speaking of, Joe says, I only know this from that Roblox game. And this is the first thing from this show that I have had any idea of. This is a reoccurring theme, Joe. Last week, you hadn't played any of the games that we talked about either. Jordan says, there's a short demon that appears to suffer from narcolepsy standing behind Jeff. He keeps waking up and passing out.
This guy right here.
Yeah. He's like, oh, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, cool.
Oh, I'm asleep.
Oh, geez.
You like how I pointed to the wrong way first?
Yeah.
Mike does it all the time.
I do it literally anytime I try to point to anything. I think another interesting thing about the series too is how they utilize time jumps and the vagueness of time in their uploads, and how uploads are not necessarily in chronological order story wise. I think that adds a nice spice to the series, right? Because you got to kind of like just makes you think and dig a little deeper because you have to figure out where on the timeline like this video falls. Luckily, Kane, because we're on the first name basis,
right.
He posts in his episode descriptions the date of the video. So like, okay, the last video was published August 21st, 2022, but the date in the episode description is August 19th, 1995. Joe says, guess I'm not much of a show boy. I'm oblivious. It's all right, man. That's why you listen.
He saw Thor Love and Thunder.
It's true.
He loved it.
Yeah, he was probably his favorite MCU movie, I heard. But yeah, oh geez. I wish I could go into the story, but I can't. I do not want to ruin the story for you guys because it's just, you guys need to watch it. Just know that, because the story is really cool.
I definitely plan on it.
You can't ruin it for anybody. You know what I mean?
That's true.
It's just not fun.
That's
Either you
true.
watch it or you don't.
Right.
I guess that brings us to, so in Discord, I had linked a few of my favorite series to touch on tonight. I linked the playlists and or the channels. So if you're in our Discord and want to catch up on these series, watch, experience them for yourself. Want to, like Joe, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Well, you can go in the Answer the Boys channel, and I got these series we're going to talk about. The links right there, so you can view at your earliest convenience. I don't know where I was going with that. So, if you're not in our Discord, there's a link in the episode description, by the way. So you can just clickety click and join up right there. The other series, of course, the Mandela catalog. I feel like we got to talk about that, because that has been continuing to get videos. Like Nick said earlier, we had Alex on, the creator of the Mandela catalog, on for an interview last year. Was it in October?
Another youngin,
right? Fresh out of high school. I think he was also like 19 or 20, something like that.
Yeah.
Episode 74 back in February this year.
February. When we had him on, he still had if you've seen the series, there's a shot of a wall that has "nothing is worth the risk" or something like that spray painted on it. Well, yeah, that was his bedroom wall. He really spray painted it on there, and it was on his background during our episode. So it's like, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, this series has continued to evolve as well. We've had plenty of posts. I think Act 2 is out and only has one video as of right now. And this video was published last month, September 5th. So Act 2 is getting ready to kick off. So a great time to jump in here. How far in this series are either of you?
I finished the first act.
Act 1. Yeah, so you just haven't seen that one video in Act 2.
Okay, great. Let me tell you, I think out of the two series here, the Backrooms and Mandela, I think the Backrooms is the better of the two. Not downplaying Mandela. I think the story of Mandela is super, super interesting.
Yes.
And there are a lot of very good elements to the series here. I will say the thing that kind of gets, we start to lose a few points is some of the voice acting is a little rough, and the dialogue's written a little rough in those scenes. But man, this story, like, we had him on, he told us about the story. Apparently we got him to reveal some lore, because every so often we get comments on the video like, wow, there's so much lore here. So go check it out if you want to hear straight from the horse's mouth. But the whole concept of alternates and like them, which
you are,
replace you, which apparently I am. We figured out at the start of the episode here.
And it's pure play analog horror too.
Huh?
And it's pure play analog horror too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do either of you guys want to take a crack at summarizing this series for those that might not have seen it yet?
You want to, Jeff? I think I can, loosely.
So there's this guy named Nick who's going to explain this story.
Okay.
And I'll interject.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so essentially, like, the world is normal. It seems like everything's mostly intact, except there are these alternates that are replacing people. And it's very, I think, at first difficult to tell, but like as time progresses, it's like it becomes more and more apparent that someone might be an alternate. there are rules to check for if someone is an alternate, and there are also steps to take if you think someone might be an alternate. So it's kind of like a PSA, like, hey, FYI, we're all kind of screwed. just pray you're gonna survive, and if you do encounter one of these, just kind of like hope and like follow these like really, really basic
Yeah, the
rules that
think
probably won't save
procedure.
you. And it's kind of like no one wants to like touch these things. So basically, because don't they do like don't call the cops, like don't
Well,
call for
no,
help,
they have like police training videos, and they're
right?
like, don't talk to the people. Just wait until they're not talking anymore, because you don't want to like reveal any of your fears to the
Exactly.
alternates.
Yeah, and the instructions just make you feel so helpless because it's like, okay, it's like I'm just supposed to do nothing and just hope this works out. In most human brains, like that's not like an acceptable route, and I think that's the really unsettling part of it.
Yeah. Jordan says that show with Alex was fun. It was indeed. Jordan was with us. That was great. Fun time. Yeah, and this one starts out much heavier on the analog horror aspect as compared to the back rooms, that does like a pretty nice blend of a lot of different genres. This one is probably like 80% analog horror, and then like you got that remaining 20% split up with some voice acting, some very minor like found footage styled stuff. But yeah, the one video that like the concept of alternates is great. It's pretty creepy.
Mm-hmm.
But the video, the scene in the video that got me actually like a little spooked, is when the police officer is in the hallway of the police station, and the alternate is like forming in the hallway and comes towards him, and then like does the weird thing with and puts the weird smile on his mouth, and it that whole that whole part of the series was like, oh yeah, there's just something very weird about people who have like oddly proportioned, like way out of proportion body features.
Yep.
And I think that's what the fear that the alternate designs like really play off of, obviously, because that's like one of the alternate types. But yeah, it's just a very interesting. He plays a lot off of religion, and he does a lot of tweaking of like old Bible story cartoons.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like,
That's
you know,
great.
you got that. Basically, it seems like the creator of the alternates, or like the one that's putting all this into motion, is you know, maybe angelic or demonic or something. It's like seen at least as that in these cartoons or whatever. I love all the messaging of like, you know, there's not basically, you know, kick back to Western. There's not enough room in this town for the both of us. You can't. There's not enough room for both versions of you. So the alternate is trying to take you out. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I don't know. You guys have any more thoughts on Mandela?
This was probably my favorite of all the series that we were talking about watching.
Mhm.
Just the story and how deep the story goes, like the whole like the Christian aspect, like how it goes way back to like Joseph and Mary, and so basically, and stop me if you don't want me to ruin it for anybody, but like the part with like the shepherds, and they see
So good.
Gabriel come down, but then his face distorts.
Oh yeah.
And then like basically from what I can remember, like Satan is basically the main alternate because he took Jesus's place. and he basically says, "I've fooled them all," and
Not cool, bro.
now Jesus is like chained in the sands or whatever. It's
You know that dialogue there, or not dialogue, but the text on the screen of the chain unchained. That was a poem that he wrote in high school.
Ah,
Yeah,
interesting.
Lore.
Lore.
Yeah,
I am like this kid, literally kid. His creativity is just awesome.
I know.
Like
Alex and Kane, like people like you, are so amazing. Also
pioneers,
make
man.
me very
Like,
sad because I'm like, I'll never be that talented. How do you come up with this stuff?
it's so freaking cool.
Yeah, dude. Like, of course, both Alex and Kane are listening to this podcast this far in. You are an hour and a half deep. Why wouldn't you be? But man, people like Alex and Kane are so inspiring, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Like these, like you said, kids just being creative, like, and putting their creativity out there for other people to see. And the most encouraging thing is like acting upon it, because as the three of us are creative people, sometimes you get ideas and then you're like, but that's gonna like take a lot of work, or at least maybe that's just sometimes what happens in my head. Or I'm like, that sounds like it would be hard to do, or I'll have to learn how to do this to be able to do this idea I have. But the fact that they're able to come up with the idea for a story, write the insanely detailed stuff that they're writing for the story, and then like do all of like produce the entire thing themselves, like that's insane. It's so
And
crazy.
then upload it to YouTube.
Yeah, then you have to figure out how to upload it to YouTube. Holy crap. I just learned how to do that like a month ago.
Yeah. You're growing up, Mike.
Damn. One of the stylistic things I love about the Mandela catalog, though, is his use of filming a TV using the images that he's created, like playing on the TV, like the few times where you're just the camera's sitting there watching an actual TV turn on and then have like the intruder image pop up or something. Yeah. Oh, I love those shots there. Yeah, great series. Recommend it. Act 1 and 2 playlist posted in Discord.
So good.
We have Gemini Home Entertainment, of course. We talked about more of a traditional series based on.
Is that the moon one?
That's Local 58. There's quite a few that play on the moon a little bit, but this one, they have these things called. I don't think they're skinwalkers. That's like an actual like thing in the horror culture. Maybe they're woodwalkers. I don't know.
I think
have either of you guys watched Gemini?
I watched some of it.
It's pretty good. I don't think it's on the level of Mandela and Backrooms and Local 58, but it is a good one. Same with Eventide. Eventide's a more traditional analog horror. You have these instructional videos. You got the epic vaporwave tracks playing in the background. That one, it looks like there's some play with maybe AI and humans intertwining, combining. Maybe there's like focus on like plant stuff in there. So that story seems to still be evolving. I did stumble across a new series that only has one video, which was pretty interesting to me. And it's called the Paracosm Trials. Of course, again, it's linked in the Discord. But this one, let me pull it up. Mute the sound here. This came out in March of this year. We have one video. It's like 8.5 minutes long. This is presented as a jumble of several badly damaged clips. This volume touches on the strange signals an individual receives by an unknown source, as well as their experiences following the breach of 85. Careful dissection of the volume's dialogue and imagery may reveal a hidden story. Keep your eyes peeled for future installments of the Paracosm Trials and experience the horror that awaits.
I love it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. This one seems to it deals with like the Earth splitting and opening up these like multi-dimensional rifts thing. The first video is interesting. I will say, since it's presented as a series, like in the episode description, kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of these types of videos, you know? Because like, not that I would ever watch this and be like, oh my gosh, like this is really happening. But like part of the fun is like these being presented as
Spoofing yourself.
somewhat like real-ish entries, right? But I think it's worth a watch, so I linked it, and it was done really well and seems to have an interesting story concept. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you guys have any other thoughts on analog horror as a whole before we kind of wrap up tonight?
I want to see more. I want to see it. I want to see it blow up even more. Like take media by storm, because it's so interesting, and the storytelling from what I've seen is just, it's very, very creative, and the way that they pull you along for this ride, for this journey, it's just really cool. And like these freaking kids with these stories, man, like it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's very, like you said, inspiring.
Well, on that
yeah.
note, where do you think, where do we think it could go as a genre if it were
Are you in my brain right now? Because I was literally going to ask that.
No, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And Jeff kind of set it up too, perfectly, because it's like, all right, if it blows up, and even like Hollywood or even they can do it themselves, like to the point where they're like, almost, I don't know if it's like movies, series, like how do you scale right this genre appropriately? Because
I wouldn't do Hollywood. Hollywood would ruin it.
Right. Or like what? So what would that look like as a ruined Hollywood attempt? Like what would Hollywood do that would like trash it?
I'm trying to think of a good movie to.
Joe says, I saw Blair
Blair
Witch
Witch.
Project. Does
There
that
you go.
count?
There you go.
No, that is well, I mean, based off of what we've talked about tonight, I could see why maybe you would lump that in. That's definitely not analog horror. That's straight up found footage. I wonder if they had some sort of like, I think they had an ARG campaign to promote and market the movie. And
Blair
what that
Witch?
looks like, if Chad was here, he would know. I think that's one of his favorite movies, if I'm remembering correctly.
That's really random.
Because I think, didn't he talk, like when we had the ARG episode, all those episodes
Dude,
in the past,
episode 8, I
it
don't
was
remember
with
anything.
Chad and Alex of I almost said Stranger Things, of That's Strange. I think it was one of them that were talking about Blair Witch Project. But the ARG genre and the analog horror genre kind of at times blend together, at times get confused with one another. But the ARG thing came into I guess was originally used as like a marketing tool, and you saw that in the release of movies like Cloverfield, where they had a huge ARG campaign. They created websites like that looked real of the companies in the movie, that like had characters from the movie, some that aren't even in the movie, that fleshed out some of the story behind the scenes, that when you look into it and then watch the movie, like helps things kind of make more sense. Like bands have done this. I think 9 Inch Nails has done this as a marketing campaign. All that to say, I think Blair Witch had an ARG marketing campaign leading up to the movie. But no, that's just a found footage movie. How Hollywood would do this, I don't know if they could. Like, I don't know
Right.
if this if this could be effective outside of YouTube. Like, because like how do you turn this into like a show or a movie?
Yeah.
Definitely just a show would be like your only plausible route on Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus.
Well, okay, so here's I think I've talked about this before. So they're probably not there anymore. So back in like old school Netflix days, like when it was still a young streaming platform, I think we were trying to search for the Exorcist movie on there, and I think we were spelling it really bad, and basically these like test videos that Netflix uses to like test different parameters of the platform is what came up, and they are just like batty weird, and we were just like I would say like the very belly of like Netflix, like all the way down
Yeah.
the rabbit hole.
Dude.
And that's where it could, like, if they could bury some sort of analog horror medium series like in the obscure corners of like a streaming platform, that would be gnarly.
Yeah.
And like don't
Yeah.
even advertise it. Somehow just like
Right.
breadcrumb it to where
Dude.
they play after certain like videos randomly and like for like short, and then just weird stuff. Like you'd really have to be paying attention. Is
That'll
like,
be like the back rooms, how you kind of no clip. You like
No clip into a series.
oh yeah, that would be awesome.
That's great though, because like I've seen videos on the videos you're talking about, Nick, and the fact that you just like stumbled upon that like
Oh yeah, we found that
naturally.
organically. Yeah, and we were not in a really good headspace. It was really really crazy.
Yeah, there was like you know, these internet
No crying in baseball.
sleuths or whatever. People like, you know, Nexpo and those sorts who dive into like these internet mysteries and stuff. They've done, I've
Yeah.
seen videos on these like test videos, but I mean, they're just literally test videos. But not knowing that, you come across this and it's just like a bunch of weird imagery or like a bunch of colors and shapes flashing on the screen and weird patterns. And you're like, what am I watching? Is this some like weird like Illuminati secret code
we were
stuff? Are people
freaked
just gonna
out,
like
man.
kick down my door and like take me away in a van now that I've seen this?
Yep.
We were freaked out. It was like 3 a.m.
But yeah, like, yeah, that's the thing is like, how do you, because what is so captivating about analog horror, and I guess more specifically, I guess I'm just gonna like bleed a lot of ARG talk into this here, the back end of this episode. But what makes ARG series and analog horror series so captivating is the, again, like quote unquote realism, the organic nature of finding these and the way that they're presented in a somewhat natural and organic way, that really makes them scary or intense or dreadful, disturbing, you know, insert whatever adjective you want to get this. But if I were to like turn on Netflix and be like, where's Local 58 or whatever, I just feel like, I don't know if it would have the same effect. But if it were, if it was just like an unnamed video that's just like .01 AF or something, you're like, what the heck is this? You click on it and it's just like super weird out there. That would be awesome.
I think and this would be the power of them tracking everything we do, right? Used for good and like entertainment purposes. So if they were to somehow isolate and know, hey, you, Mike, we know you on YouTube, you watch analog horror. So what we're going to do in your Netflix account is we are going to no clip you into this like 3-second video, like mid watching something you intend to be watching.
So crazy.
Just to like incept your brain that this idea is there, and like you Google it, and obviously you Google it maybe
I
to
don't
like
know
try
how to
to
use Google yet, so
to run the breadcrumbs. But then what happens is it's so oversaw by like the streaming service. Like not anyone's getting the same experience. Like they clip you into that. Maybe someone else at the end of a video gets recommended like the dot video, like no file name, like video, like watch next, and it's just peppered all throughout
Yeah.
there. Then if enough people were to like put their heads together and be like, I saw this, this, and this, they
Yeah.
could maybe eventually piece it together.
Yeah,
I
that
think
would
you're
be
onto
so
something.
gnarly. But I mean, you're literally describing ARG. Like that's exactly what an ARG is, and that's
Yeah.
why they're so fun and they're so
So it's got to be done by
captivating.
big tech companies.
Yeah,
Nerds in
yeah.
the big tech companies
Yep.
that have the
but like
data.
we talked about this on the ARG episode all the way back. The thing that makes ARGs so disturbing is like a lot of that's, well, at least the stuff that I had watched is like highly disturbing stuff, and just like stumbling upon that on a YouTube video of someone like kidnapping somebody, you're like,
Yeah.
first off, this looks like legitimately real. Why is this on YouTube? But then like you
This
go down
isn't
the rabbit hole of
2007.
like links and solving the puzzles and stuff, and you're like, wow, this is crazy. This is so crazy.
Yeah.
But like also, how has nobody stumbled upon this and actually thought it was real and like called the authorities and got people in trouble? Because this looks like you're inciting panic or something over something. We had one example of that actually happening where an ARG video of a guy talking about how he kidnapped a girl, basically. The end of the video shows him walking into a room with a girl like chained up with like screaming for help, right? This is all fictional, by the way. This is actors doing a story. Somebody saw that video, thought that the girl looked like an actual missing person, contacted the authorities. The family thought that that was the missing girl, and like it blew up, and
Wow.
they're like, no, this is like this is all like a fictional thing. Like these two people are actors. We're making like a thing, and like the video had to be removed, and
We're
like the
making a
family
thing.
was like obviously distraught because they, one, thought that their daughter may still be alive, and two, thought that she was like held up in this like creep's torture dungeon or whatever.
Oh, wow.
So like there's at least one example of that actually happening where people are like, oh my gosh, this is real, we gotta like call the police, and then like it actually wasn't real. But I don't know, that's crazy. Man, I don't know. I would love to see analog horror continue to evolve and grow. I'm just not sure how much further than YouTube it can go. And that's not really putting a limit on it because YouTube is massive, and like the back rooms, I just closed all the videos I had up, but like the latest backrooms video has like 4 million views on it. So it's not like just being on YouTube is stunting the exposure of these people and stories.
Definitely carries weight with it.
Yeah. Backrooms found footage number 2, which is the latest video. 4,877,530 views, and it's, you know, a month and a half old. That's insane.
Get it.
Yeah, I think we'll continue to see it continue to evolve. I think we'll see more quote unquote analog horror series that do a great job of blurring the lines and adding in these other genres like the Backrooms does. I'm excited to see how that continues to evolve. If we'll start to see more ARG elements added into these as well. I would love to see those lines completely blurred between analog horror and ARG. I think they are two great genres, but also like really work hand in hand together very well. Outside of that, if you still don't know what analog horror is after following Showboys, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You should really
Messed up.
you should really get
You're an
into
alternate.
it. You are definitely an alternate. Yeah. You guys got anything else? You ready to wrap up here?
I'm just happy I got that pitch out for blending into streaming services.
That's a
Heard
great
it here
idea.
First, I don't think it's ever been thought of before. First thought.
Yeah, I'll say it's never been thought of before. I think you're a trailblazer.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pioneer. Yeah, absolutely.
Patent pending.
There you go. Yeah. So Jeff, tell everyone where they can find your stuff.
I'm on Twitch, Dad the Captain. I am also on Discord, Dad the Captain, I think. I'm sorry, I'm so new to this.
Plug it.
Dad the Cat.
Plug it.
Dad
Plug
the
it.
cat.
Dad the cat.
I write music, mediocre
Bangers.
Very
music.
good. It's good. It's good.
Bangers.
It's not mediocre.
He's got a SoundCloud.
SoundCloud, yep, SoundCloud. If these scars could speak.
Yes. It's
So
linked
metal.
on all of the House of the Dragon episodes. We could probably
Sure
throw it
is.
in this one.
Do you have the
Uh,
latest version of the House of the Dragon song on SoundCloud? Or am I
Yes.
still linking to the okay?
I think the newest one's on there.
Dope.
Right on.
It was so much fun to make.
It turned out really well. I liked it. So how many more, speaking of House of the Dragon, how many more episodes you guys got?
We just did 7, so we got 8, 9, 10.
3 more to round out the House of the Dragon
sir.
companion series. That's
That'd be nice.
every Monday night, right? 9
Yes,
p.m.
sir.
right here.
Yep.
Uh,
24 hours after the premiere of each
that's right.
episode.
That's right.
Awesome.
Joe says, well, I guess I know what I'm doing with the rest of my work night.
That's
Hopefully
right.
it's listening to Jeff's music while watching Analog Horror.
No,
Yeah.
just watch Analog Horror.
He said, he's in your closet. Don't open it. That makes me think of the Scientology episode of South Park. The whole episode there. Is it the Scientology one? They keep trying to get like John Travolta and R. Kelly and Tom Cruise to come out of the closet because they lock themselves in
that
Stan's
sounds
closet
right.
or something.
That
That
sounds
sounds
right.
right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh man, yeah.
Well,
tune
Mike,
in. What?
I'd ask you how many more episodes of The Chosen you have.
Oh,
but,
like a lot.
A lot.
A lot.
Actually, we're almost done with season 1. So yeah, House of the Dragon is live every Monday at 9. While they're live streaming their companion series, me and James of the nerdybible.com are recording our companion series on The Chosen. We just recorded episode 6 on Tuesday. So we have 2 more episodes of season 1. We have all of season 2, and season 3 is coming in probably December. We got some news that episodes 1 and 2 are being released in November in theaters only.
Oh
So
wow.
that's exciting. But we're speculating that they'll probably hit the streaming service in December around Christmas. Just makes sense. But that
Jesus.
we got audio on Tuesdays. The YouTube video goes up on Wednesdays. So yeah, feel free to check that out if you like. Apparently I don't stream games anymore, but you follow us on Twitch for the occasional stream, and of course our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, which we just did session 3 2 Sundays ago, last Sunday.
This past Sunday.
It's
Big crit energy.
Yeah, Jeff's got the big crit energy for sure. Someone's
got to.
are just I'm busy looking for teammates to kill, and Jeff's just taking out all the enemies. But we had some big story development at the end of session 3
About
which
time.
was
It was
exciting.
great. It was great.
Until the end of episode 3 happened, and I'm just left holding my hands up.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Crazy twist.
Big twist. Lots of fun though. Lots of fun over there.
Plot twist.
Subscribe here. Check out our Patreon. Join our Discord. The League of Legends World Championships going on right now, and I've been typing up analysis and breakdowns of basically each stage of the tournament so far. It's been a lot of fun for me. Nick hates me and just makes fun of everything I typed there. So that's been nice.
Loser.
Yeah, just check it out. I don't know. We're going to leave now. So have a good night.
I didn't think I could recreate my signature Spooktober movie review, but I think I nailed it pretty spot on.